You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into the Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. I am Pete Fox, host of the Locked On Clippers Postcast, along with the Locked On Dodgers, Chargers, and Trojans Postcast. Of course, we are about 30 minutes away from Game 2 of the World Series, Dodgers-Yankees, after the Dodgers took a 1-0 lead last night on the back of Freddie Freeman. We're not here to talk about that just yet. That's a little bit later. Right now, we're here to talk about the Clippers. I've been covering sports in LA dating back to 2007. ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio is where I worked. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, a gutty win for the Clippers here. Throughout this entire game, we're still trying to figure out who they are at this point of the season without Kawhi Leonard. And one of the things that kept kind of just coming up to me is that the Clippers need to find another scoring option that isn't named James Harden or Ivica Zubac. And I'm sorry, at this point in time, when it comes to Ivica Zubac, the people that still call him Zubac, like, what are you doing? Why are you that freaking lazy? Like, don't you know that he's from the same place as Nikola Jokic? Nobody calls him Nikola Jokic, right? It's Slovenian. You put the H at the end. And Jim Jackson is the Clippers broadcaster. Stop calling him Zubac. Drives me insane. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Zubac played well. Sorry, I had to do that. 24 points. A lot of those inside buckets. I mean, at crucial times. The thing about Zoo that is great is that, he's not afraid to battle inside there. And recently, he's also been a little bit more willing, and recently, I mean, in the last couple of games to start the season, a difference from last year, a little bit. He seems like he's willing and looking for an option to pass outside of the lane, to find somebody outside to kick the ball to who's open. And unfortunately for the Clippers, it feels like they've had a fair amount of options of guys in the corner over there that were wide open. And it also felt like at times that they were missing those shots until Norman Powell started banging them down. So I look at this and I say, all right, is Norman Powell on a regular basis, even when Kawhi Leonard comes back, going to be that third or second even scoring option if Harden's having an off night? I hope so. We feel like he's capable. We've seen him do it before. I just have to wonder about the consistency. That's really what it boils down to for me. Can he continue to have this kind of night? He doesn't need to have it all the time, but I just feel like from an offensive perspective, when the game is tight late in the fourth quarter, it can't just be James Harden penetrating the lane, trying to draw a foul. I don't understand. I mean, maybe I don't know basketball well enough to understand how James Harden is so able to draw those fouls. I mean, to me, it just seems like a guy who's slow and incapable of evading a defender and getting the ball up. And it kind of becomes just like the defender has nothing else to do except foul him. That's what it seemed like late in this game when Harden ended up at the line there, draws the foul. It was under a minute to go. He made both free throws. Aaron Gordon was the offender on the foul for the Denver Nuggets. They went to review it because it really was a little bit suspect because it didn't look like it was egregious. It looked like that same sort of thing that Harden always runs into, where he's, trying to make something out of nothing, and he doesn't have great hops. So he's doing that lazy Euro step and he draws a foul. He just forces defenders into fouling him, whether it's beyond the arc with that leg sticking out, which seems to work almost all the time, or it's him in the lane trying to cradle it and then go up with a floater or a layup or something like that, and he draws the foul. I'm amazed that it still works, and it does. And I understand that if you are a Denver Nuggets fan and you were watching this game, you have to be frustrated. Or if you're any team that's playing against the Clippers and James Harden's doing that late in the game, it has to be really, really just frustrating to watch. The good news, though, for the Clippers is that they did have a nice fourth quarter. They gutted out the win. They're first in Denver at Ball Arena in 4 years. And they're first in front of fans in 6 years, because when they won in 2020, it was the COVID season. So they didn't have any fans in the building. But I thought Zoo played a nice game. I thought James Harden was pretty good. Not great from beyond the arc. 1 for 3, 12 of 13 from the line, and 5 of 11 from the floor for 23 points. Again, Harden to me seems just a step slow this season as compared to last. Maybe it's because it's early in the season and he'll find a little bit more energy and, kind of get up to game speed as the season goes on. But I look at this and I go, yeah, he's good. And he's the best scoring option for the Clippers at this point. When it comes to crunch time, the floater seems to be working. His passing game is still spot on. And I thought it was way better today than it was in game one, the loss to the Suns. I thought he was making just very, very crisp passes. The give and go to Zoo off of the screen looked really good today. 16 assists. And the Clippers, last year had a fantastic record anytime Harden was over 10 assists. So that continues this year. As for the defense in this game, they have put an emphasis on the defense with hiring Jeff Van Gundy and coming off the first game against the Suns where they did well. They had 16 points off of 22 turnovers and 23 deflections. So active hands, a lot of young energy on this team. That second quarter team that they're running out there. It looks good. I'm a fan. I know they're not great. Their defense was sloppy, and I'm speaking specifically of Dunn, Porter Jr., Coffey, Batum, and Jones Jr. Those guys as a group early to start the second quarter seemed to me to have a pretty high upside. It's not quite there yet. The D was pretty sloppy, but the second they incorporated Zoo back in there and they got James Harden back in there, Clippers went on a 16-0 run. So that was really nice to see there in the second quarter. Problem being, and this is something we saw a lot last year from the Clippers as well, they back up a big run like that with surrendering a big run. They went on a 16-0 run, which was immediately followed by a 9-0 run as Gordon and Jokic started banging down threes. Look, the fact that they are able to win this game on the road and Jokic had the game he did with 41 points is really, that's a feather in the Clippers cap, because this is not new information to any of you who are basketball fans. Jim Jackson was giving Brian Seaman a hard time because Brian Seaman was trying to come up with some superlative to heap on Jokic, as Brian Seaman is quite the wordsmith. Jim Jackson just says something to the effect of, just call him difficult. He's difficult to deal with. And it's true. Jokic is nearly impossible to defend. He's just too good, especially when he starts hitting that three, the ball above his head. I don't care if you're 7'2", Zubac did a pretty good job of defending him, but ultimately Jokic gets hot like that beyond the arc, 7 of 12 for 41 points. It's nearly impossible to defend. But they did, late in the game, they got up on him and forced bad looks, and it worked. The fourth quarter wasn't like thrilling and exciting, and Harden had a turnover that was ugly that kind of made you go, uh-oh, this is not good. The Clippers were able to withstand it. He finished the day with 7 turnovers, leading the Clippers, and it wasn't even close. Jones Jr. had 3, and Zubac had 3 as well. But he drew that foul, and more importantly, Norman Powell, a big 3 under a minute to tie the game at 103. There was a question Was his foot on the line? His toe on the line? It turned out that it was not, and the three was good. And from there, really, the Clippers kind of salted it away, making that 18-point lead that they had early in the first half stand up. So nice win for them. They're now 1-1, 109-104. The final. We'll break down the big buckets from Norman Powell, and he had a handful of them. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcast on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Today's episode of the Locked On Clippers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, even some in-game live betting on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. So you can be frivolous. You can try crazy things. It's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So download the app or use the online Googler. Go to FanDuel.com. It's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Clippers get their first win. They're now 1-1, beating the Nuggets in Denver. Denver is 0-2, losing to the OKC Thunder, and now the Clippers. I got to tell you, I really like that new Clippers logo with the Clipper ship and the sea around it. Not that this one is bad. This one's all right, but on my hat. But the new one's really cool. I wish they would have put it on the jersey. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And there's a lot of things about the Clippers that don't make sense, and this is one of them. A lot of people ask me, why are the Clippers still in LA? And BC is saying San Diego Clippers, meaning why don't they move back to San Diego? Well, they're not moving anywhere now. Now that they have the new Intua building, which is fantastic. But I never understood that either. Not necessarily back to San Diego, but when Steve Ballmer bought the team, there was no team in Seattle. I never understood why they didn't go back to Seattle. And the Ballmer, like right out of the gate, was, we are not moving the team. I'm like, okay, cool. If you want to keep him here, part of that has to do with the fact that LA is just a bigger media market and the team's worth more here than it is almost anywhere else. So, same thing for the Chargers. Chargers make way, 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 way more sense in San Diego. But they are worth way, way, way more in LA, even as the second fiddle at SoFi. Ball movement in the early part of the game was good, but the shots just weren't falling. Clippers couldn't find it. So it's nice to come out with a win in spite of, some bad luck where you just didn't have that rhythm and flow. And, the thing that I appreciated and liked and kind of was happy to see was that they just kept moving the ball. All right. Norm Powell hit a 3 at the 8-minute mark, which was pretty clutch. So that was nice to see. End of the first quarter, Clippers lead 27-19. As for the bucket list, the top 5 or so buckets in tonight's 109-104 win for the Clippers. Number 5, Kris Dunn hits a 3, the 8:52 mark of the second. It came after a missed dunk. One of those ones that hit the heel of the rim and bounced all the way out to the 3-point line where Kris Dunn happened to be standing, and squared it up and hit that 3 to make it 31-24 Clippers. For number 4, Batum had a really nice block. This was at the 6:39 mark of the second. And then off to Porter Jr., who just hammered a dunk down to make it 37-24 on the way to that 18-point lead for the Clippers. For number 3 on the bucket list, Norm Powell hit a 3 at the 10:18 mark of the third. That made it 54-48. Then for number 2, Kris Dunn, a 3. A lot of threes tonight for the Clippers. All in all, they were 12 of 13. Wow, that's surprising. I thought there would be more. But 36%. It's not, right home, get excited percentage-wise worthy, but it's good. It's solid. And really, the thing that mattered was they were clutch threes from Norm Powell in the fourth quarter as the Clippers needed to get back into the game. The one that Dunn hit at the 10:21 mark of the fourth made it 75-71. For number one, a bunch of Norm Powell threes. One of them was a 2. Hoop and the harm. Missed the free throw, though, at the 8:46 mark. That made it a 2-point ball game. Clippers were down at that point, 79-77. Then he backed that right up within a minute with a 3 to make it a 2-point ball game again. Then he hit back-to-back threes at the 5-minute mark to put the Clippers up. And they never looked back from that point. It was close. It was tight down the stretch. They definitely weathered the storm, if you will. I thought a little bit in the fourth quarter, they were keying a little too much on Zubac, and that's just not good, because the fact is that he's good and he's capable of making those threes. But when he's really your only scoring option, because James Harden is ice cold from beyond the 3 and you need to hit some threes to kind of get back into the ball game, they're going to double on Zoo. And I still don't think he's gotten better, but I still don't think he is the kind of underneath strength threat. Like I'm not going to say he's soft. He's not soft, but he's not the toughest guy in the paint that you've ever seen. Right. But as I said, he's done a nice job of finding guys outside the perimeter, and the Clippers just kept finding guys in that corner wide open. Amir Coffey was open, but he missed the 3. Fortunately, Norman Powell got open over there a couple of times and hit a 3. One time, Norman got a 3 kind of at the wing and just dribbled and long stepped his way into the corner to hit a 3. So that corner was working well for the Thunder. The Jones Jr. had one of the best highlights. It probably should have made the bucket list. He had one of the best highlights of the game. He was advancing the ball, or was just running up the court actually, and ran into, I'm not sure who it was. It was probably Aaron Gordon, who was standing there like a brick wall, and Jones Jr. just went, just ran into him and fell down and kind of got the wind knocked out of him a little bit, fell to the ground, and the shot by the Thunder was missed. The pass up the court, advancing the ball, went directly to Jones Jr., who was unmanned, and he elevated from like the free throw line, that sort of two-handed behind the head, just hammer dunk to get out the frustration of getting knocked down by Gordon. Was like, wow, that made you get excited there for a little bit. So all in all, yeah, I think this was a good game. I feel like this Clipper team has a very exciting lineup, a very exciting makeup. There's a bunch of guys on this team, I think, that have high potential of being really good players. They're young, and I think that is a big part of what this team is needed. It's not lost that Russell Westbrook on the other side of the ledger tonight on Denver was absolutely awful. 0 for 8. 2 free throws for 2 points on the night. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I did my best last year to try to find the enthusiasm to describe Russell Westbrook as necessary and good for the team. And there were times when his energy was very obvious. I mean, there was a stretch there where when Russell Westbrook came onto the court, if the Clippers were down, they would immediately turn the tide. And it was because Russ was just running around like a wild man. Just crazy energy, like, the 21-year-old energy, and he's 40. So that's clearly what he brings to a team, but he can't shoot anymore. And he's not afraid to shoot. It's not like he goes, tonight I'm off. I'm just not going to shoot. I'm going to pass. I'm going to play defense. I'm going to give the team energy. No, he's not afraid, and a lot of times he's wide open, right? There's a reason you're wide open, Russ. You can't shoot. You can't make the shot. So I kind of felt like it was nice to see him on the other team. Like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's not on the Clippers anymore, which is absolutely fine. 0 for 8 tonight, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc. As for the Clippers, we'll get into the breakdown of the box score right after the break in a 109-104 win on the road at Ball Arena, where the Denver Nuggets play. The arena sponsored by Mason Jars. which I used today to make start the process of making my very own coffee liqueur. Need a bunch of mason jars to make the coffee and let it age and cold brew this and that and the other thing and let it sit there for 2 weeks or whatever. It was ironic that I was using ball jars today, watching the Clippers play the Nuggets at Ball Arena. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. Today's episode of the Clippers postcast is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Thank you for being a valued Prize Pick customer. Hopefully, of course, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded prizes. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players from 2 teams for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. If you want to pick those red demons, run your game all season long at Prize Picks. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. If you hit 3 out of 4, you can double your money, or 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6. And don't forget, we got Dodgers right around the corner, about 10 minutes away. You can still get some action in on that one. Yamamoto is starting. He's a guy that likes to strike batters out. Maybe that's something you look at. If you're feeling really strong about your lineup, make the selections that you're going to go 3 for 3 and hit all 3, and that pays better. But if you're a little iffy, you can go for the flex play, which is 2 out of 3. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. My initial deposit was super painless and hassle-free. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. That's a huge bonus from Prize Picks. So make sure you check them out. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app. Locked On NBA is the code you use. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 bets. Prize Picks. Run your game. Clippers get their first win of the season, 109-104. Their first win in Denver in 4 years. Their first win in Denver in front of fans in 6 years. So that's a nice win for them. On the road, probably going to get smoked tomorrow by the Warriors up in the Bay Area. That team's off to a good start this year. They've in their first 2 wins, they have a combined margin of victory of 77 points. It's going to be a tough deal tomorrow for the Clippers. Again, Norman Powell led the way, got red hot from beyond the arc late in the game, hit some clutch threes. One of them was really deep, about 5 feet from beyond the arc. He was 7 of 11 from 3 land, 14 of 21 in 33 minutes, 2 of 3 from the line. No turnovers on the day. No assists either, but he had 3 rebounds and 37 points. Terrence Mann surprisingly played 21 minutes and didn't score. That's not something we see from Terrence Mann all that much. Usually he comes out red hot, ready to go, gets the game going for the Clippers. He's kind of a spark plug, an igniter, if you will, for this team. James Harden, 38 minutes, 23 points, and 16 assists. So a nice double-double there. Zubac in 39 minutes was 11 of 17. 2 of 3 from the free throw line, and had just 3 turnovers, 24 points. And Derek Jones Jr., 27 minutes, 4 of 8, 1 3 for 9 points. Off the bench, it was Kris Dunn with 11. Played 19 minutes, went 4 of 6, hit 3 threes. Nice, really nice, efficient performance from him. He's a guy that I think is going to fit in well with this team. Coffee played 24 minutes and also didn't score. That's surprising for both of those guys, Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey, not scoring. They are fairly reliable shooters, and Amir Coffey had a nice game for game 1 to start the season, so I was a little surprised by that. There's a ton of potential when it comes to scoring on this team. The opportunity is there. I really just think they have to find the rotations and find who fits best and just kind of gel, come together as a unit, because they're basically a new unit. A lot of these guys are familiar with each other. Obviously, as far as the starters go, they're all familiar, save Jones. Derek Jones Jr., the one starter that's not a regular part of this lineup. Batum in 22 minutes, just 1 point, a free throw. Kai Jones played 4 minutes. Surprised by that a little bit. He had a nice first game. I'm not sure why they didn't have him out there a little bit more from the big perspective. He needs the experience. He's a youngster and needs to grow and become just more physical, right? Down in the paint. He's obviously has the ability to elevate and get above the rim, hence the nickname Sky Jones. But all in all, I like where this team is trending. Of course, we sit here every day after a Clippers game and wonder when Kawhi Leonard will be back out there. I probably shouldn't waste my time and energy doing that, but I can't help it. Then the next thing becomes, how hard is it going to be? Or maybe it'll be easy to incorporate him. Maybe the fact that they're coming together as a unit without Kawhi Leonard is a good thing. And then when Kawhi is integrated, it'll be seamless because he's such a good player as long as he's healthy. Obviously the scoring opportunity that he brings to a team is undoubtable. So, and they're going to need that. They need that now. So the fact is that when he's available, it's not going to be like, well, how do we? Well, no, the second Kawhi is on the floor, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. As I've said, this team is without a doubt in need of a third scorer. When Zubac or James Harden is off or in foul trouble or whatever, who's the third guy to step up? Tonight or today, it was Norman Powell. Can it always be Norman Powell? Sure. Hopefully. He's a heck of a good shooter. He's a veteran. He'd start on a lot of teams. So it's not surprising that he's starting. He didn't start last year. He was the Clippers' 6th man. So you look at it and you say, it's a perfect role for him to step into. And maybe when Kawhi is healthy, Jones Jr. goes to the bench and it's seamless, and this team takes a large step in the right direction forward of becoming a much, much better team. But as they're trying to figure it out right now, hopefully they don't fall too far behind the 8 ball and, they weather the storm and continue to play good basketball and beat solid teams. The Denver Nuggets are no slouch. It's a nice win today. 109-104, the final, their first win of the season. They're back at it tomorrow, a little after 5 in San Francisco at Chase Center against the Golden State Warriors. Norman Powell leading the way today with 37. That'll do it for the Locked On Clippers postcast. Off to watch Dodgers Yankees game 2. We'll be right back here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel to do Dodgers postcast after game 2 is in the books. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your comments. We'll talk to you in a few hours. Enjoy the Dodger game. If you're not going to watch it, you're missing out, and have a good Saturday night. We will talk a little bit later, probably tomorrow after the Clipper games, if you're not into the whole baseball thing. But thanks for joining us here on the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Take care. Have a good night.